I don't play video games. None of them. Not since 1981. 45 years. Not a single one. No console, no computer, no phone. My grandchildren think I'm just old and don't understand technology. My daughter thinks it's a principle. My doctor thinks it's a phobia. None of them know the real reason. The last game I ever played was called Polybius. I played it in the fall of '81 in an arcade in a suburb of Portland, Oregon. I was 14. I played it 7 times. Each time, no more than 10 minutes. 70 minutes total. 1 hour and 10 minutes in front of a black cabinet that no longer exists. And that was enough to break my life. Portland, fall of 1981. I need to explain what that time was like, because anyone born later won't understand. Arcades were everything. Not a bar, not a movie theater. Something bigger. A place where you spent 3 hours after school for a quarter. Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Asteroids, Galaga. Lines on a screen and a handful of pixels, but for us, it was another world. We stood in lines. We fought over machines. We knew each other's high scores by heart. The Malibu Grand Prix Arcade in Beaverton, a suburb of Portland, was my second home. I went there 3 or 4 times a week, knew every machine, knew every regular, knew the owner by name. An ordinary place, ordinary people, ordinary games. And then, in early November, a new machine appeared. I don't remember the exact date. Nobody does. It just showed up. On Monday, it wasn't there. On Tuesday, it was. A black cabinet in the far corner of the arcade, between Centipede and a broken Defender. No artwork on the body. Regular machines were covered in colorful pictures, aliens, rockets, monsters. This one, just black. Matte, smooth, like a coffin stood upright. On the control panel, a joystick and 2 buttons. Above the screen, the name. White letters on a black background. Polybius. Below it, in small print, barely legible, the name of the manufacturer. Sinneslöschen. I learned the meaning of that word 30 years later. German. Sense deletion. At the time, I didn't pay attention. I just saw a new machine that nobody had played yet and reached into my pocket for a quarter. The game launched instantly. No intro screen, no menu. Coin dropped. Screen came alive. Black background and geometric shapes. Lines, triangles, spirals. Bright, neon, moving at increasing speed. Nothing like any other game of the era. There was no character you controlled. There were no enemies you killed. There were only shapes that folded into patterns, and a joystick you used to... I still can't explain what I was doing. Guiding, controlling the flow. It was like trying to surf a wave that existed only on a screen. The first session lasted about 8 minutes. When the screen went dark and Game Over appeared, I noticed 2 things. First, I was standing flush against the screen. Literally, my face was 4 inches from the glass. I didn't remember getting that close. Second, 4 kids were standing around the cabinet that I hadn't noticed, waiting for their turn. Silently. Not talking. Just standing there, watching the screen over my shoulder. I stepped away. The next kid sat down to play. I walked outside. November, Portland. Gray, wet, cold. I stood in the parking lot, trying to remember what I'd just seen on the screen. Shapes, lines, spirals. But the more I tried to remember specifics, the more they slipped away, like trying to recall a dream an hour after waking. The outlines are there, but the content dissolves. But I remembered the feeling. Warmth. Peace. As if for those 10 minutes behind the machine, I'd been in a place where problems didn't exist. No school, no parents, no Portland. Just the screen and me. I came back the next day. By my second visit, the line for Polybius was already noticeable. 5 or 6 people, sometimes more. Other machines stood half empty. Everyone wanted to play the new one. I got in line, waited 20 minutes. The kid ahead of me played and wouldn't leave until he ran out of quarters. My second session was longer, about 12 minutes. The shapes on the screen were different, or so it seemed. More complex, deeper, as if the game was adapting, as if it remembered that I'd played yesterday and offered me the next level. When the screen went dark, I noticed my hands were soaked with sweat. Pulse, fast, like after a run, and a faint ringing in my ears. Quiet, at the edge of hearing, like someone struck a tuning fork in the next room. The ringing passed after an hour. I didn't think much of it. That night, I dreamed of geometric shapes. Bright, colorful, rotating. It wasn't a nightmare. It was beautiful. Like a kaleidoscope you look through in the dark. I woke up rested, with one single thought. I want to play again. Third visit. Fourth. Fifth. Every day after school, the line for Polybius grew. I saw fights. 2 kids went at each other for the right to play next. The arcade owner didn't intervene. He stood behind the counter looking lost, as if he didn't understand what was happening to his arcade. On the 4th session, I first noticed something was wrong with me. I left the arcade and couldn't remember where I'd parked my bicycle. I rode it every day, left it by the entrance, and always remembered where it was. This time, blank. I walked around the parking lot for 5 minutes before finding it by the back wall. I didn't remember putting it there. 5th session, 12 minutes at the screen. Walked out and realized I couldn't remember the last 3. I remembered the beginning, shapes, lines, the building rhythm. Then a gap. Then game over. 3 minutes cut from my memory. The ringing in my ears after the 5th session didn't pass in an hour. It didn't pass by morning. Quiet, constant, on a single note. As if something inside my head was vibrating. On the 6th day, I saw them. I was standing in line for the machine when the arcade door opened and 2 men walked in. Adults, in matching dark suits. Not sport coats, suits, like something out of an FBI movie. They didn't play, didn't approach the counter. They walked straight to Polybius. One pulled a key from his pocket and opened the back panel of the machine. Not the coin door, a different one at the top. The second stood beside him holding something. A small case, silver, like a briefcase. The first one connected a cable from the case to something inside the machine. For several minutes they stood in silence. Then disconnected, closed the panel, and left. Not a word, not a single glance at us, the kids standing in line a meter away, as if we didn't exist. 3 days later, they came again. Same suits, same case, same key. Same procedure. Open, connect, wait, disconnect, close, leave. This time I stood closer and noticed a detail that has haunted me ever since. When the first man opened the back panel, the inside of the machine didn't look like the inside of a normal arcade cabinet. No large circuit board, no standard power supply. Inside was something else. Compact, black, with indicator lights I'd never seen in electronics of that era. It looked like military equipment, not like the guts of a video game. I looked away, not because I was scared, because the second man looked at me. For the first time in both visits, one of them looked at one of us, straight in the eyes. 2 seconds. His face was completely still, like a mask. Then he turned back and continued working, as if I were a piece of furniture. Those 2 seconds have cost me sleep for 45 years. I asked the arcade owner who they were. He went pale, said, "Technicians, maintenance." But I saw his face. He didn't know who they were. And he was afraid of them. They didn't take the coins from the machine. They took data. The 7th session was my last. I sat down at the machine, dropped a quarter. The screen came alive. Shapes, lines, spirals. But this time, from the very first second, something was different. The patterns were deeper, as if the screen had become 3-dimensional, as if the shapes went not into a flat surface, but inward, into a depth that shouldn't exist in a cathode ray tube from 1981. I wasn't controlling the game. The game was controlling me. My hands moved the joystick, but the decisions weren't mine. Something was moving my hands for me. The last thing I remember, the screen, all of it, edge to edge, filled with a single shape. A spiral, perfect, infinite, coiling into a point at the center. And I was falling into that point. Not metaphorically, I physically felt my body leaning toward the screen, felt my eyes stop seeing the arcade, felt the world around me disappear until nothing remained but the spiral. They pulled me away. Someone in line grabbed my shoulders and dragged me from the machine. I found myself on my knees. My hands were gripping the edges of the cabinet. My eyes, according to that kid, were open but didn't see. He said he called my name 3 times, and I didn't respond. I don't remember dropping to my knees. I don't remember letting go of the joystick. The last thing I remember is the spiral. Then, hands on my shoulders and someone's voice. I rode my bike home. The ringing in my ears was deafening. Not quiet like before. Loud, pulsating, as if someone were hammering on the inside of my skull. I was nauseous. I stopped twice, both times certain I was about to fall. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, the spiral, bright, sharp, as if burned into my retinas. It was spinning, slowly, in the dark behind my closed eyelids. I lay with my eyes open until morning. The next day, I didn't go to the arcade, or the next, or ever again. Not because I decided to, because I couldn't. Every time I thought about Polybius, and I thought about it constantly, every minute, like an addict thinks about a fix, my body refused to go. My legs wouldn't walk. My hands shook, as if one part of me wanted to go back, and another part, the part responsible for survival, was holding the line. A week later, the machine disappeared. I heard about it from a friend. On Monday, it was there. On Tuesday, gone. An empty space between Centipede and the broken Defender, as if it had never existed. The arcade owner said the company took it back for maintenance. The machine never returned. The owner sold the arcade 3 months later, left Portland. Nobody knew where. 45 years have passed. Here's what happened since. The ringing in my ears never went away. It got quieter, but it's there, every minute, every day, for 45 years. Doctors say tinnitus. They prescribe pills. The pills don't help. I got used to it. It became part of my silence, the background against which every day of my life plays out. Sometimes I forget about it for a few hours. Then I notice, and it's there, as it was yesterday, as it will be tomorrow. The memory gaps stayed. Not liking 81, I don't lose hours. But there are moments when I find myself standing in the middle of a room and don't remember why I got up. Or I'm driving and miss my turn, not because I was distracted, but because for a few seconds I wasn't behind the wheel. My body was driving, but I wasn't. My wife left in '92. Not because of the ringing, not because of the gaps, because I refused to turn on the television. Any screen, TV, computer, even a digital clock with blinking dots, triggered panic. Not fear, panic. Physical, animal panic, as if the screen could do to me what Polybius did. She said she couldn't live with a man who was afraid to turn on the light in a microwave. The spiral also never went away. I see it every time I close my eyes. Not always, but often, especially at night. It spins, slowly, steadily, as if waiting. And with every year, I swear to you, with every passing year, it gets clearer. Not fading like an old memory, the opposite, coming into focus. As if something that was planted in my head 45 years ago is still developing. Like photographic film that needs decades to fully develop. 2 months ago, the spiral began to change shape for the first time in 45 years. Before, it was just a spiral. Now, contours are appearing inside it. Lines that form into something. I can't make out what it is. Not yet. But every week the lines get sharper, as if the spiral isn't a pattern, but a message. And I've been waiting 45 years to read it. I found the others. Not right away, after years of searching. First, forums in the early 2000s. Then private groups. Then personal messages, cautious, like spies negotiating. 4 men, roughly my age, from Portland, all played Polybius in the fall of '81, all in the same arcade. Every one of them has tinnitus. Every one sees the spiral when they close their eyes. Every one has memory gaps that started after the game. Everyone has destroyed relationships with people close to them. Because nobody believes in a video game that broke your brain at 14. One of them, Stephen, has something else. He claims that after his 7th session, he also had exactly 7. He lost 2 days. Not hours, not minutes. 2 full days. He remembers leaving the arcade. Then, he wakes up in his bed and his mother says it's Thursday. He lost Tuesday and Wednesday. Completely. Where he was those 2 days, he doesn't know. His mother said he was home, that he ate normally and talked normally, but he doesn't remember any of it. As if someone was operating his body while he wasn't inside. Another one. Greg told me something that kept me awake for 3 days straight. He said that 2 years ago, the spiral in his head also began to change. Contours, lines, shapes. And he made it out. He saw what it was. I asked him what he saw. He said, coordinates. I asked him to repeat it. He did. Coordinates, numbers, latitude and longitude, written into the spiral that had been spinning inside his head since '81. He checked the coordinates on a map. They pointed to a spot in the forest, 60 miles from Portland, in the Tillamook State Forest, in the middle of nothing. He didn't go. He's afraid. He told me, I don't know who put this in my head, but if they want me to go there, it means I shouldn't. Polybius doesn't exist. Not a single machine has been found. Not a single cabinet has survived. The company Sinneslöschen, sense deletion, is not registered in any database. No patents, no documents, no photographs. As if the game was erased from reality as thoroughly as it erased the memories of its players. But here's what is real. In 1981, the FBI conducted raids on Portland arcades. 52 arrests. Agents entered arcades, opened machines, recorded data from screens. The official reason? Illegal gambling machines. But the agents weren't only interested in gambling equipment. They recorded the names of players, high scores, time spent at the machines. Why would the FBI need the high scores of teenagers playing asteroids? And there's more. The MKUltra program, the CIA's mind control experiments, was officially shut down in 1973, 8 years before Polybius appeared. MKUltra used drugs, hypnosis, sensory deprivation. But what if, by '81, someone found a better way? What if a flickering screen and geometric patterns hitting the optic nerve at a specific frequency turned out to be more effective than any drug? What if Polybius wasn't a video game, but a tool? I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a retiree from Oregon with ringing in my ears and a spiral spinning behind my eyes for 45 years. But I know I played something that shouldn't have existed. And I know that men in black suits took data from the machine. Not coins. Data. About us. Last night, the spiral changed again. The contours got sharper. I lay in the dark with my eyes closed, and for the first time in 45 years, I could see. Not coordinates like Greg, something else. Letters. Words. One sentence written into the endless spiral that has been spinning inside my head since I was 14. I read it, and I went cold. Not from fear, from understanding. That everything that happened to me, to Greg, to Stephen, to the others, wasn't an accident, wasn't a side effect. It was the result. The exact result the men in black suits had been counting on. We weren't players. We were carriers. For 45 years, we walked through the world with something inside our heads that we couldn't see and didn't understand. Something that slowly, year by year, was developing, like an image on photographic paper in a dark room. And now, it's developed. I won't tell you what it says. Not because I'm afraid, but because if you read it, you'll close your eyes tonight and see the spiral. And once you see the spiral, you'll never be free of it. It will become part of your darkness, your silence. It will spin behind your closed eyelids every night. And one day, in a year, in 10, in 45, you'll read what's written inside it. Some things can't be unseen, and some programs can't be stopped, even after 45 years. Sweet dreams.